Hi everyone, today I am going to teach about water vascular system in Echinodermata. The water vascular system or ambulacral system, it is a peculiar characteristic feature of the phylum Echinodermata and it is not at all seen in any other phyla. The water vascular system or ambulacral system, it is a modified part of coelom. It consists of a system of seawater filled canals having certain corpuscles. The water vascular system plays an important role in the locomotion of the animal. The water vascular system consists of the following components. They are madreporite, stone canal, ring canal, Tidman bodies, Polian vesicles, radial canals, lateral canals and tube feet. So this is the diagram where we can see the water vascular system in starfish. Here we can see the madreporite which is present on the arboreal side and S-shaped stone canal and pentagonal ring canal. This pentagonal ring, this we can call them as a ring canal. Then ring canal may gives rise to radial canals that enters into each and every arm. These are radial canals. Radial canals enters into the respective arms. From the radial canals, small branches will arise. They are the lateral canals, which will end with that of the tube feet. So this is the basic diagram of this water vascular system or ambulacral system of starfish, which mainly consists of all these components: madreporite, stone canal, ring canal, Tidman bodies, Polian vesicles, radial canal, lateral canals and finally tube feet. So here in this diagram we can see the lateral canals, tube feet, madreporite, pentagonal ring canal, Tidman bodies, and here each tube feet, if you see that, it is having ampulla, podium and sucker. Three parts will be there. Ampulla, which is a sac-like structure, podium, stem, and ends with that of the sucker, which mainly helpful for adhesion on the substratum. Madreporite. Madreporite, it is a round calcareous plate occurring on the arboreal surface of the central disc and it is present in interradial in position. So the surface bears numerous radiating, narrow, straight or wavy grooves or furrows. The grooves, we can call them as ridges and furrows. We can see these grooves or furrows. Each furrow may contain minute pores at its bottom, which is having numerous pores will be there, and each pore leads into a very short fine tubular pore canal. Each pore, it will open into a small tube-like structure that are pore canal, which passes inwards in the substance of the madreporite. There may be 200 pores and pore canals. So all the pore canals, they will join with each other. That means here the pore canals unite to form collecting canal, which will unite to form the collecting canal, which will opens into the ampulla, which is present beneath the madreporite. So this is regarding madreporite, which is round calcareous plate, which is occurring on the arboreal surface of the central disc and it is interradial in position. The surface bears numerous radiating, narrow, straight or wavy grooves and furrows. Each furrow will have minute pores at its bottom and each pore will open into pore canal, which is tubular, and it will pass into the substance of the madreporite. There are 200 pores and pore canals. These four canals will unite to form the collecting canal, which will open into the ampulla which is present beneath the madreporite. The next part is stone canal. The ampulla opens into S-shaped stone canal. The stone canal extends downwards, that is, it will run towards oral side and it will open into the ring canal which is present surrounding the mouth. The walls of the stone canal, they are supported by a series of calcareous rings. The lumen of the stone canal, it is lined by very tall flagellated cells. In embryonic stages and in young asterias, the stone canal remains as a simple tube, but in adult asterias, the lumen of the stone canal possesses a prominent ridge with two spirally rolled lamellae, which by branching becomes more complicated in structure. So during its course, the stone canal is ensheathed by wide, thin-walled tubular coelomic sacs that are called as axial sinus. So the stone canal, just you can see, which is in the form of S-shaped. The stone canal extends downwards, that means it will run towards the oral side and it will open into the ring canal which is present surrounding the mouth. And the stone canal, it is supported with the calcareous rings. The lumen of the stone canal, it is lined with that of the tall flagellated cells. Ring canal. The ring canal or water ring, it is located to the inner side of the peristomial ring of ossicles and directly above, that is on the aboral to the hyponeural ring sinus. It is wide and pentagonal or five-sided, which is present surrounding the mouth on the oral side. So this ring canal or the water ring, it is located to the inner side of the peristomial ring of ossicle and directly above to the hyponeural ring sinus. It is wide and pentagonal or five-sided in structure. The fourth part of the canal system, that is Tidman bodies. The ring canal gives out interradially 9 small yellowish irregular or round glandular bodies that are called as Erasmus or Tidman's bodies from its margins. The Tidman's bodies rest upon the peristomial ring of the ossicles. The actual function of the Tidman bodies, it is still unknown. However, they are supposed to be the lymphatic glands to manufacture the amoebocytes of the water vascular system. So this is related to that of the Tidman bodies. Polian vesicles. The ring canal gives off on its inner side in the interradial position 1, 2 or 4 little pear-shaped, thin-walled contractile bladders or reservoirs with long necks that are called as Polian vesicles. They are supposed to regulate the pressure inside the umbilical system and to manufacture the amoeboid cells of the umbilical system. So this is the main function of the Polian vesicles. The sixth component of the water vascular system, that is radial canal. From the outer surface of the ring canal gives off a radial water canal into each arm that runs throughout the length of the arm and terminates as the lumen of the terminal tentacle. In the arm, the radial canal runs immediately to the oral side of the umbilical muscles. So the radial canal penetrates into each and every arm. Lateral canals. In each arm, the radial canal gives out two series of short, narrow, transverse branches that are called as radial canals or podial canals. Each lateral canal is attached to the base of the tube feet and it is provided with a valve to prevent the backward flow of fluid into the radial canal. Tube feet. There are 4 rows of tube feet in each ambulacral groove. A tube feet or podium, it is hollow, elastic, thin-walled, closed cylinder or sac-like structure which is having upper sac-like structure that is called as ampulla, middle tubular portion that is called as podium, and a lower disc-like sucker will be present. The ampulla lies within the arm. The ampulla lies within the arm, projecting into that of the coelom above the ambulacral pore, where the gap it is seen between the adjacent ambulacral ossicles for the passage of the podium. So the tube feet, they are the chief locomotory organs in asterias and respiratory organs. That means when it is, as it is carrying the water, it may carry out the function of respiration also in starfish. Locomotion of asterias. The asterias lacks in head or anterior end, therefore it is having the capability to move in any direction according to its desire. So it can move on horizontal surface as well as on vertical surface by the help of the tube feet. So the tube feet are the chief locomotory organ in starfish. So the locomotion on horizontal surface, how it will show the locomotion on a horizontal surface? When an asterias, that is starfish, desires to move on a horizontal surface in a given direction, the arm or arms pointing in that direction is lifted. Immediately the ampulla of raised arm, it will contracts, the valve in the lateral canals will close, and the water of the ampulla is forced into that of the podia. So the podia of the tube feet becomes extended and enlarged in general direction of movement due to hydrostatic pressure which is produced by the influx of water into them. Subsequently, the terminal suckers of the tube feet becomes attached to that of the substratum, and their central part are withdrawn to form suction pumps. So due to the vacuum so produced, the suckers acquire a firm grip over the substratum. Later on, the mucus will be secreted by the tip of the tube feet, which further aids in attachment to the substratum. So the tube feet now pivot forward on their attached suckers, assuming vertical position and thereby pushing the body forward direction. So the longitudinal muscles of the podia now contract, and this forces their fluid back into the ampulla and releases their suckers. So the ampulla then contract again, and the whole sequence of the events, they are repeated once again. So this is the locomotion of the starfish on horizontal surface, where the ampulla will be raised. As a result of that, the wall in the lateral canals will be closed, and the water from the ampulla, it is forced into that of the podia. The podia of the tube feet, it will become extended and enlarged in the direction of the movement due to the hydrostatic pressure that is produced by influx of water in them. Subsequently, the terminal suckers of the tube feet become attached to the substratum, and the central parts are withdrawn to form suction cups. So due to the vacuum so produced, the suckers acquire a firm grip over the substratum. So later on, the mucus secretions will be secreted by the tips of the tube feet, further helps in attachment. So like this, locomotion on a vertical surface. In climbing a vertical surface, the tube feet pull the body forward direction. It will pull the body in the forward direction. So by the alternate contraction and expansion of the tube feet and by adherence of the suckers of the tube feet on the surface, the asterius, it will climbs on the vertical surface. So here the asterius, it will employs its tube feet only when it moves on hard rocky substratum, but on soft mud or sand the suckers of the tube feet becomes useless. So therefore on such soft surfaces the animal literally walks on its extended tube feet, which now acts as a small legs. So here the starfish, it will employs the tube feet. When it wants to move on a hard rocky substance, then only it will use the suckers. But if it wants to move on a smooth surface, the suckers of the tube feet will become useless, so that it can walk literally on the softer surfaces by the extended tube feet, which acts like that of the small legs. So besides locomotion, the tube feet serves many other functions such as clinging of animal body to the substratum, tactile in nature, and it may form respiratory function to a small extent. So this is locomotion of the starfish on a vertical surface. Thank you. If you are watching my video for the first time, please subscribe my channel. Stay home, stay safe.